So welcome to this Did You Know session where we're going to look at how to create a scriptless test. So this is an example of a scriptless test. On the right hand side here, this is the actual test flow, and on the left we have the actions, so you can drag and drop these to build your test. But we're going to show you how we can use a recorder to actually create a simple scriptless test. The first thing you're going to need is the BlazeMeter plugin. So if you go to the Chrome store, just search for BlazeMeter, add this to your Chrome browser, and the recorder will allow you to record a test and dynamically add that to BlazeMeter. So I've already added this, and if you look on the browser bar up here, you'll see I've got my plugin. And we're going to record a simple login test for our demo application. So this is our demo application. We're going to start the recorder. So you give it a name. I've called mine login test, and you click record. Now this is now started recording, so I can label these steps. So I'm going to say this is the login page. You don't have to do this, but it makes it simpler to diagnose the tests. And then you take the steps to actually you want to record. So I'm going to put in my username, my password. I'm going to click sign in. So we just signed in and we're now on the landing page. So perhaps I want to change this now and add this to say it's now the landing page and add that step. We're going to click on the checking, get the view checking, and perhaps do an assertion here. So I can right click on this text and we can use the assertion to say we want to assert on the text, on the title, on a value. We can store this if we want to use it later. We're just going to do an assert on the text. And then we want to log out. So again, I'm going to add another step, which is going to be log out. And in the top corner, I'm going to click on the avatar, click on log out, and then click stop to stop the recording. Now we can just save this. So the recorder actually creates not just functional tests, it also creates performance tests. So you can see here, we can save this as a JMeter test for performance testing, or Selenium for UI testing, or a combination. But what we're going to do is click on this run button. So we could just run a performance test, we could run a functional test or a combined test. The combined test is a performance test that runs functional tests at the same time, but we're going to do a GUI functional test. Now what this is now doing is it's creating the test inside BlazeMeter. So we've now been taken to BlazeMeter, and this is the test that the recorder just recorded. So as you can see, there's the login page. If I just collapse this, you can see that's the 3 steps we named. In the login page, we clicked on the username, we entered the username. You can see for the password, we know it's a secret password, so it's been obfuscated. Then we clicked on the login button. Now we can modify this test at this point. And I happen to know that when I click on the login button, sometimes it can take a few seconds before I get to the landing page. So I want to add a pause here. So in the actions, I can find the pause, drag it over, and drop it in the right place. We then say perhaps 5 seconds. We've now got a modified test. So we're going to go to here, put the username, put the password, click the sign in button, and then pause before we move on. Now we can debug this within the browser. I can click on the debug and just run this. So we can validate this test works. So you can see this has taken us to a new browser. It's now going to run the test. To the login page, it's entered the username and the password. It's clicked on the sign in. We'll then be signed into the system, and it'll basically walk through those steps we just defined. So it will go to that checking account. It will check the text. So we've gone into the application. We're going to click on the checking account, assert the text that we need is on the screen before we click on the avatar in the top corner, and we log out. This will then take us back to the test, and we can validate the test actually worked. So as you can see there, we have the green mark that all the steps worked. So we can take out a debug. We've now debugged that test. And obviously at this point, we could parameterize this test. We could integrate it with our virtual services. But to actually execute the test, all we need to do is say where this test is going to run. So these can run on a private location inside a firewall, as well as our public location. So we can choose to run this perhaps from Virginia. You can also choose different browser types. So as you can see here, I could choose to run this with various browser types. Let's choose Chrome, and also different versions. So that's an older version of Chrome perhaps. Once that's defined, we can execute this test via the API. We can execute it via the scheduler. We're going to click on the run test to just run the test manually. So that test is now initiating. Now while it's running, if I click on the test action library, what you'll see is the objects that we click on the page, this is the library that shows them. So these have been labeled. So things like the login button, if I expand that, this is the definition we use to identify that object. Now we can edit this, so if that button is renamed or changed, we can modify it in the action library, and all the tests that use this object will be automatically updated to use that new object. So let's go back to our test that we just executed. So this is the test results screen. We have this video. We can scroll through the video to see what happened. We can also click on the actions on the right hand side to also navigate what happened. So I can go to perhaps that landing page, go back to the login page. So we can navigate through what happened. We make the screen bigger to actually see what's on the screen. Now we can also on the left hand side look at a waterfall report. Now what this shows you is all the objects that were loaded and how long they took. So you can mouse over this to understand if a page is slow to load, what the cause is. We also have here the logs that go with the actual test, as well as the publish logs. So if you're using test data, you can also get the logs that are used to generate the test data. If we ran this test with multiple browsers, in the summary page, you'd have the output for each of those browser types. So as you can see, it's very quick and easy to get working with the functional scriptless tests. For more information, go to BlazeMeter.com, where you'll find blogs and videos, and you can sign up for a free tier account. Thank you.